Victoria knew exactly how it felt to be invisible. Every morning she walked the same cold streets, past the same warm windows, and watched a world that didn't seem to have room for her. Through the glass of the little cafe on the corner, she could see people laughing over steaming cups of coffee, breaking warm bread, sharing their easy, ordinary lives. She never went in. She couldn't. Her pockets were as empty as her stomach, and she had long stopped pretending otherwise. It hadn't always been this way. But life has a cruel way of taking everything at once, and one hard season had left Victoria with almost nothing. Her clothes were old and worn thin, stitched and restitched until the seams barely held. When she walked into a shop, she felt the eyes turn. Sometimes she heard the whispers, the small laughs, the way people stepped back as if poverty were something they might catch. She learned to keep her head down, to move quickly, to want nothing out loud. But she was never truly alone, because trotting faithfully at her side on a frayed little rope was her dog, a small, scruffy creature with eyes full of love and a tail that never stopped believing in her. He didn't care about her old coat or her empty pockets. To him, she was everything. And on the nights when the cold crept in and the loneliness pressed hardest, it was his warmth against her side that reminded her she still had a reason to keep going. One gray afternoon, with nowhere to be and nothing to lose, Victoria decided to walk into the forest at the edge of town. The trees were quiet. The air was clean. For the first time in a long while, no one was watching her. No one was judging her, and she could simply breathe. Her little dog ran ahead, sniffing at roots and leaves, happier than she'd seen him in weeks. And then, suddenly, he stopped. His ears shot up, and he bolted toward a crooked old tree and began to dig. Victoria called him, but he wouldn't stop. He dug like something wild had taken hold of him, dirt flying, paws scrambling. "There's nothing there," she whispered, kneeling beside him in the cold soil. But there was. Her fingers brushed against something hard and smooth beneath the earth, a clay pot, old and cracked with age. And when she pried open the lid, the dull forest light caught something that made her heart stop. Gold. The pot was full of it, coins worn and ancient, more wealth than she had ever dared to dream of. For a long moment, Victoria couldn't move. She just knelt there in the dirt, her dog licking her face, the impossible glinting in her trembling hands. And then she did something that surprised even her. She wept, not for the gold, but for all the years she had survived without it. For the cold mornings, the empty cafe windows, the laughter that had cut her so deep. It was over. That part of her life was finally over. Victoria's life changed after that day, the way you'd expect. New clothes, a warm home, a door that finally opened where so many had stayed shut. But here's what most people get wrong about this part of the story. The gold didn't make her a new person. It simply set free the person she'd been all along, beneath the worn coat and the lowered eyes. Because Victoria never forgot. She remembered exactly how invisible had felt. So when she walked into that little corner cafe, the one she had only ever watched from outside, she didn't go in to prove anything to anyone. She bought a warm meal, sat by the window, and quietly paid for the coffee of a stranger who looked as tired and worn as she once had. And she kept doing it. She became known, not as the woman who got lucky, but as the woman who saw the invisible people, because she had been one of them. The same faces that once whispered now smiled and wanted her attention, but Victoria had learned something the gold could never have taught her. Real wealth was never just what you found buried in the ground. It was the loyalty of a small dog who loved her when she had nothing. It was the dignity she kept when the world gave her every reason to lose it. And it was the kindness she chose, even after the cold. So if you're standing outside the window right now, watching a life that feels like it belongs to someone else, don't lose heart. Life can turn in a single afternoon in the most unexpected way, And when your moment comes, may you remember who you were in the cold, because that's the part of you worth keeping. If this story moved you, subscribe and stay close, and I'll see you in the next one.